Chapter 81 to 82. That woman appeared at a scientific and technological seminar, which meant that her technological talent was definitely not weak, and all the features mentioned by Bulma just now seemed to be consistent with Android 21. Although Android 21 hadn't made an appearance in the canon, she was a popular character nonetheless. In terms of physical appearance, she could easily rival the Dragon Ball goddess, Android 18. More importantly, her technological prowess was on par with Bulma's, and her strength was formidable. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that Android 21 was the epitome of perfection. "Goten, do you know this woman?" Bulma asked, noticing Goten's intrigued expression. Logically, he shouldn't. Goten had spent his early years in Mount Paozu and had never ventured out before turning 7. How could he possibly know her? "I'm not sure, but I'm intrigued by what you've described," Goten replied, shaking his head. The appearance of such a mysterious woman, who fit the description of Android 21 so closely, warranted further investigation. If she was indeed Android 21, then they had found their 5th contestant. Android 21 was not only stunningly beautiful, but also possessed formidable abilities. In her normal form, her combat power was estimated to surpass even Krillin's, and when she transformed into her hunting form, her strength would undoubtedly increase. Like Majin Buu, she also possessed a powerful regeneration ability. She had inherited all of Majin Buu's abilities, as her body contained his cells. "Oh, okay," Bulma nodded, then said, "But I have no idea where she lives. I've tried searching for her, but to no avail." "She's quite the enigma. It seems I'll have to meet this mysterious woman," Goten said, his eyes sparkling with curiosity. Videl, standing by his side, seemed slightly displeased. After a brief chat, Goten and the others returned to Mount Paozu. Krillin stayed back at Capsule Corp to train with Trunks. Thanks to Whis' training, Krillin's strength was now on par with, if not greater than, Trunks in his Super Saiyan 2 form. The next morning, Krillin returned to Mount Paozu and sought out Goten. "Goten, are you particularly interested in the woman Bulma mentioned yesterday?" he asked directly. "Yes, I have a feeling that she's not just a scientist, but also a powerful warrior. But she's hiding her key, making it impossible for us to find her," Goten replied, not hiding anything from Krillin. After all, they had known each other for a long time and considered each other friends. "I thought so!" Krillin exclaimed. "Let's split up and search for her. If we find her, Earth might gain another powerful warrior." He grinned, a knowing smile that only men could understand. Goten could only roll his eyes at him. With that, they began their search. Krillin focused on well-known research institutes on Earth, reasoning that as a scientist, she might be based in one of them. Goten, on the other hand, searched remote areas away from bustling cities. After a thorough 2-hour search, which involved circling the Earth multiple times, they found no trace of her. "It seems impossible to find her through her Kai," Goten mused, hovering mid-air. If she was indeed Android 21, she would be fully capable of hiding her Ki, making it impossible for anyone to perceive. Suddenly, a thought struck him. If she's Android 21, could she be staying under Dr. Gero's research lab? Android 21 was a creation of Dr. Gero's computer, much like Cell. It was plausible that she might still be residing in Dr. Gero's underground laboratory, which housed numerous advanced android-making technologies. Whoosh! Just then, a streak of light shot across the sky. Krillin's figure appeared before Goten in an instant. He frowned, expressing regret to Goten. "I apologize, Goten. I've searched all the research institutes on Earth, but I couldn't find the woman Bulma described." Over the past few hours, he had practically turned every scientific research institute on Earth inside out. However, he found no scientist with a distinct aura. As for tall and beautiful female scientists, they were even rarer. There were only a few, and they resembled dinosaurs more than humans. "It's okay. I didn't find her either, Goten replied. But I suddenly thought of a place. Krillin, do you still remember the exact location of Dr. Gero's lab? This was also their last hope. If they couldn't find her in that place, then he could only temporarily give up looking for her. After all, there was only one day left before their match against the Sixth Universe. At that time, they could only let Roshi participate to fill in the slot. Krillin nodded immediately. Of course, I remember. He would never forget that place. After all, it was there that he met the girl he thought was the cutest in his life. Although the girl had already kicked the bucket, she occasionally popped up in his mind. Let's go and have a look, Goten suggested. In less than a minute, they had arrived at the old site of Dr. Gero's research institute. There were uneven stone pillars all around, but the stone pillar in the middle had been blown up, leaving a sinkhole in the ground. I don't sense any Kai here, Krillin said, looking down. He didn't understand why Goten had suddenly thought of coming to this place. However, Goten had noticed a cave-like entrance in the pile of rocks below. The surrounding area seemed to have been artificially cleaned up, and there were no weeds around. It seems that my guess is correct, Goten said, a smile finally appearing on his face. What do you mean? What guess? Krillin asked, puzzled. He had no idea what Goten was talking about. The place was deserted, not even a bird in sight, and he didn't understand what Goten was happy about. I think I found her, Goten said. The moment his voice fell, an energy ball condensed in the palm of his hand. He aimed at the entrance in the pile of rocks and fired the energy ball. Rumble! There was a loud bang, and the ground trembled wildly. The pile of rocks was directly blasted out of a huge sinkhole. Whoosh! In the next second, a white figure jumped out of the explosion wave and landed firmly on the opposite side of Goten and Krillin. She was wearing a white coat with red and blue plaid tights inside. She had brown curly hair and black-rimmed glasses. Her stunning facial features and perfect figure made it clear that this woman was the Android 21 that Goten had guessed. What? Isn't this the woman Bulma mentioned earlier? Krillin asked. How did she end up at Dr. Gero's institute? This is a bit too incredible. A girl actually lives in such a remote and gloomy place. On the other side, Android 21 was also surprised after seeing Goten and Krillin. Krillin? Goten? Do they know about me? She wondered. Obviously, Android 21 knew Goten and Krillin. Because of the cells of Majin Buu in her body, it was natural for her to know that the evil Buu had been defeated by Goten, and she was also very clear that these warriors held deep grievances against androids due to the mess caused by Cell. So after she was created by the computer and she absorbed all the memories, she directly chose to hide her ki just to avoid Goten and the others. She knew very well in her heart that even if she had Majin Buu's cells and possessed powerful strength, in front of Goten, she was also vulnerable. And a few months ago, she also clearly watched the battle between Goten and the Beerus through a miniature camera. This made her even more afraid to appear in front of those guys. During this time, she was also doing research desperately, just to find a way to make herself stronger. Hello? Android 21. Looking at the beautiful Android 21 in front of him, the corner of Goten's mouth raised a slight arc, and then he greeted her, a slight smile on his face. Android 21? What's going on, Goten? Is she an android too? Krillin asked, looking at Android 21 in surprise, then at Goten. Why are all pretty girls artificial? He wondered aloud. You actually know me, Android 21 exclaimed, her face etched with disbelief. It wasn't just Krillin who was surprised. When Dr. Gero created her, no one knew about it. Even Cell was a mystery before his appearance. But why did Goten seem to know her so well? And looking at his relaxed expression, it was obvious that he not only knew about her existence, but also seemed to know her very well. What on earth is going on? Could it be that this guy has the ability to prophesize? Of course I do, and I know you well, Goten replied with a smile. Since I've been discovered, it seems I won't be able to escape today. But don't think you can kill me so easily. Android 21 clenched her teeth, her expression turning serious. She knew she couldn't match Goten's power, but she wasn't ready to surrender either. Ever since she was created, she hid her energy every day, concealing the presence of her alter self in her body, for fear of being discovered by Goten and the others. Now that she had been discovered, there was no need to suppress the herself. Just let it go once and for all. Kill you? Goten was taken aback. Did this girl get it wrong? I came here to kill her? Why did she think I was here to kill her? It is outrageous. Ah, what's going on? Krillin was also stunned. In their surprised and puzzled expressions, Android 21 slowly removed her glasses and threw them away casually. Her brows furrowed, and sharp rays of light shot out from her eyes. At that moment, a terrifying ki aura erupted from her body. The black and red aura flames jetted out, making harsh noises. What? What a powerful Kai! Krillin exclaimed, surprised by the sudden burst of Kai from Android 21. Before that, no Kai could be sensed from the body of Android 21 at all. But the sudden tyrannical outbreak, this powerful aura definitely surpassed him. Ha! Accompanied by piercing screams, a blade-like purple beam of light erupted around Android 21's body. Then she was completely enveloped. After the purple light beam disappeared, Android 21 reappeared in front of them, her appearance drastically changed. What? What is it? Is this a transformation? Krillin was dumbfounded. The Android 21 he knew was a beautiful human, but in an instant, she had transformed into something akin to a Majin. This artificial girl's before and after difference was really too big, wasn't it? Goten's expression didn't change much. He knew that Android 21 had this hunting form, which could also be called the form of Majin. The current Android 21 was very similar to Majin Buu, with the same skin, pants, and abilities. However, her eyes were completely black, and the red pupils looked very evil. A narrow tube top was worn on the upper body, and it couldn't completely cover her two huge evils. In Majin form, they looked even more imposing. Yeah, you two seem to be very good desserts. Are you ready? I'm going to eat you all. After transforming, Android 21's personality also underwent a qualitative change. She was obviously no different from the evil Majin Buu. It seemed that in her eyes, the previous fear of Goten was gone. Pursing her lips, the greedy eyes regarded Goten and Krillin as delicious snacks. Huh? There's a creepy feeling coming from her. Krillin shuddered, looking at Android 21 in her hunting form, especially the movement of her licking her lips. How could a beautiful woman who was fine just now become like this? On the contrary, Goten on the side seemed to be feeling a bit heavy. He felt that 21 in this form had a special flavor. You two, become my dessert. At that moment, the transformed Android 21 directly condensed a purple energy wave and shot towards Goten and Krillin. This ability was the same as the purple light waves emitted by Majin Buu's tentacles. It could turn people or other items into desserts as she liked. Goten forcefully pushed Krillin aside. With a swift backhand strike, he sent the looming purple energy ball flying. The ground beneath them erupted in an explosion, and Android 21's body darted towards Goten like a bolt of lightning. An eerie smile still lingered on her lips. As Android 21's fist came hurtling towards him, Goten caught it midair and slammed her into the ground with immense force. Being in her Majin Buu form, Android 21 was still incredibly resilient. It was clear that, much like Majin Buu, the only way to truly defeat her would be to obliterate every single one of her cells in an instant. Otherwise, it would be impossible to neutralize Android 21 completely. However, Goten had no intention of eliminating Android 21. He had sought her out because he wanted her to participate in the upcoming tournament against Universe 6. Rumble! With a thunderous rumble, Android 21's body was embedded into the hard ground. Ah! A sharp cry echoed through the air as black and red flames erupted around her body. The ground behind her exploded, creating a massive sinkhole. With a powerful leap, she launched herself at Goten once again. "Your persistence is impressive," Goten remarked lightly, effortlessly dodging all of Android 21's attacks. It seemed as though the more she was beaten, the faster and more ferocious she became. After acquiring Majin Buu's cells, she seemed to possess an inexhaustible energy for battle, even surpassing Fat Buu in this regard. Meanwhile, Krillin watched Android 21's relentless assault with wide-eyed astonishment. "I can't believe how powerful Android 21 is," he exclaimed. "I always thought Cell was Dr. Gero's most formidable creation, but Android 21 is on a whole other level." Krillin was taken aback by the seemingly frail Android 21's immense power. Her speed and strength were clearly on par with Majin Buu and Janemba. He found it hard to believe that Dr. Gero, a mere Earthling scientist, could create such a formidable android. As time ticked away, Android 21 launched hundreds of attacks against Goten, but not a single one landed. She didn't even manage to graze his clothes. The once arrogant face of Android 21 in her Majin form wore a look of growing concern. She was beginning to realize the vast chasm that separated her strength from Goten's. Whoosh! But the battle had already begun, and she couldn't afford to hesitate. She moved at breakneck speed, her fists raining down on Goten. "It's over, 21, Goten said calmly. "Fighting you holds no interest for me." To others, Android 21 might have seemed formidable, but in Goten's eyes, she was nothing more than a minor nuisance. Even if she possessed Majin Buu's cells, he could easily eliminate her if he so wished. As Goten's words hung in the air, he caught Android 21's incoming fist. Then, with a swift upward movement, he drove his knee into her abdomen. Boom! Wow! A loud boom echoed through the air, followed by a gasp as Android 21 spat out a mouthful of purple blood. Goten's attack seemed to have knocked the wind out of her, sending her body flying backward like a kite with a broken string. In an instant, Goten vanished from his spot. When he reappeared, he was already ahead of Android 21. He lightly tapped her shoulder, sending her crashing into the ground like a meteorite. Boom! Rumble! The impact created another massive sinkhole. Android 21's clothes were now in tatters. The black cloth that had once covered her chest was now shredded, offering little to no coverage. She struggled to get up, but it felt as though her strength had been sapped by a potent force. Standing up seemed like an insurmountable task. Whoosh! Suddenly, Goten appeared before Android 21 again. He raised his palm, and a purple sphere of destructive energy quickly formed within it. Android 21 could feel the threat it posed. Her face turned serious. Although her rationality in this form was not as high as in her normal form, her ability to sense danger had become incredibly sharp. She could clearly perceive the terrifying power of the energy sphere Goten was forming. She knew that it had the potential to obliterate her in an instant. The destructive energy sphere descended upon Android 21's head and stopped, and Goten's voice echoed around them. "I have no intention of killing you, but if you continue to fight, I might have to reconsider." Goten's words left Android 21 momentarily stunned. In an instant, Android 21 shed her Majin form, reverting to her original state. "You're saying you don't plan to kill me?" Android 21 queried, her surprise evident. After all, Earth's warriors had always sought to eradicate the androids, whose primary objective was to eliminate Goku. Some androids were even designed with the intention of obliterating the entire world. Goten simply nodded in response. "Then, what is your reason for seeking me out?" Android 21 asked, her suspicion clear. She found it hard to trust Goten's words. "We have a tournament tomorrow between our universe and others, and we're still one contestant short. Your power is impressive, so I want you to participate. Goten explained his intentions straightforwardly. Even without transforming, Android 21's inherent strength was formidable, making her a worthy contender for the fight. Is that so? Can I refuse? A sweet smile graced Android 21's face as she tentatively questioned Goten. Yes, but then I would have to kill you, Goten replied calmly. Just kidding. The little brother's character is really a bit too violent. I agree to your proposal. Is that okay? Android 21 quickly changed her demeanor, smiling at Goten. She had a feeling that Goten was telling the truth. With his power, if he wanted to kill her, it would be all too easy. It was no exaggeration to say that he could do it with a mere flick of his wrist. Your decision is wise. In that case, come with me. Goten's tone remained calm as he looked at Android 21, though he couldn't help but steal a few more glances at her. This girl was absolutely stunning, and her voluptuous figure was hard to ignore. The figure was quite wow. After catching Goten's gaze, a subconscious smile appeared on Android 21's face. Despite his power, Goten was still a young man, full of vitality, and it was hard for him to resist the allure of a beautiful woman. Once the battle was over, Krillin also approached from the side and admired her figure. Android 21 still looked more appealing in this form. Isn't this Krillin? It's unbelievable. Didn't Earth's warriors despise androids the most? How come Krillin has also been transformed into an android? Android 21 could tell at a glance that Krillin had become an android, which was surprising. According to her data, all Z fighters were very anti-androids. But why had Krillin been transformed into an android? It wasn't in her database that Dr. Gero had transformed Krillin, so how did he become one? Krillin looked embarrassed. Being transformed into an android was a last resort, a decision born out of desperation. If the situation on Earth hadn't been so dire at the time, he wouldn't have wanted to become an android. As time passed, he was slowly coming to terms with his new reality. As long as he could protect Earth and alleviate some of Goten's burdens, it didn't matter whether he was human or android. Don't ask what you shouldn't, Goten said coldly. Krillin was his friend, and his transformation into an android was a result of his helplessness. Android 21's words just now were clearly a jab at Krillin's sore spot. All right, actually now that Krillin has become an android, I have a way to make Krillin even stronger, Android 21 said after nodding, looking at Krillin again. She had fully mastered the android technology that Dr. Gero had developed. In Dr. Gero's blueprint for creating androids, there was a concept of fusing androids together. At the time, Dr. Gero believed that the most suitable candidate was Android 17, who was originally human. If a purely mechanical Android 17 was created and then fused with the original, a supremely powerful ultimate android warrior could be created. This kind of ultimate android warrior was simply incomparable to the likes of Cell. It was a pity that when he modified Android 17 a few times before, he couldn't clearly flush out his humanity out. Dr. Gero was certainly not willing to let Android 17 become the ultimate android and not obey his orders, so that experiment was never conducted. Later on, Dr. Gero was killed by Android 17, so there was no time for the android fusion test. And now, Krillin seemed to be very similar to Android 17. They were both originally human. What's more, Krillin was a martial artist himself before his transformation. So if an experiment could be completed, then Krillin might surpass Android 17 in power. At that time, he might become a true ultimate android. What? Krillin stammered, his eyes wide with disbelief. Is there a way to make me stronger? He asked, his voice filled with a desperate hope. May I inquire about the method? Upon hearing that there was a possibility of increasing his strength, Krillin immediately turned to Android 21, his eyes sparkling with anticipation. His desire to become stronger had always been a driving force in his life. Even in his dreams, he wanted to become stronger and be able to keep up with Goten's footsteps. Even if he couldn't keep up with Goten's footsteps, at least he shouldn't be a burden to him in battle. It's just that even if he trained desperately, the gap between him and Goten seemed to only widen. Hearing that he could still become stronger now, he was naturally extremely excited. As long as he could become stronger, no matter what method he used, no matter how much pain he had to endure, he could accept it. Goten also turned his attention to Android 21, aware of her inherited technological prowess from Dr. Gero, including the design ideas and the experience of creating an androids. He knew she wasn't joking. She could indeed help Krillin. Actually, the method is quite straightforward, Android 21 began. It's based on a technological concept left by Dr. Gero. The idea is to create a purely mechanical version of you, Krillin, and then fuse the two of you together. The result would be the ultimate android. She explained that Dr. Gero had originally intended to transform Android 17 into the ultimate android. However, due to the inability to completely erase Android 17's human emotions and thoughts, he feared that the ultimate android would be uncontrollable and abandoned the idea. Ultimate android? Krillin echoed, his fists clenched tightly. He didn't know what kind of power would be unleashed after the fusion, but he was certain it would be formidable. The term ultimate android seemed to symbolize the immense strength that would result from the fusion. Is that how it works? Goten asked, surprised yet convinced. He recalled how in Dragon Ball GT, Dr. Gero and Dr. Mew had successfully created a purely mechanized Hellfighter 17. The fusion of two Android 17s had resulted in a power level comparable to Super Saiyan 4 Goku. Moreover, they could continuously absorb energy, becoming stronger and stronger, truly embodying the term ultimate android. Also, at that time, the strength of the two number 17s should not be comparable to that of Krillin now. If Krillin was allowed to fuse together in that way, the result would definitely be quite powerful. Okay, 21, how long would it take for you to create a purely mechanized Krillin? Goten asked, mindful of the upcoming match against the 6th universe. He didn't know if No 21 could make a purely mechanized Krillin in a day. It's estimated to take about 10 days, Android 21 replied. But with Bulma's help, we might be able to finish sooner, maybe 3 to 5 days. Goten nodded, understanding that creating an android with the exact personality as Krillin was no easy task. Even if it took a few days, it wouldn't affect the match against the 6th universe. After all, with Krillin's current strength, except for the 6th universe's assassin Hit, no one else was likely to be his opponent. Ultimate android? I can't even begin to imagine the level of power I'll reach. It's truly exciting, Krillin exclaimed, still engrossed in the thrill of becoming the ultimate android. Little brother Goten, you're asking me to help you in the competition and also assist in transforming Krillin. That's quite a lot of work. How do you plan to thank me? Android 21 asked, her voice, movements, and eyes radiating a captivating charm, especially with that beautiful facial features and figure. She was simply a proper charming vixen. Then how do you want me to thank you? Goten retorted. And stop calling me little brother, or I might just have to destroy you. His tone was cold, a stark contrast to Android 21's flirtatious demeanor. My little brother is not little at all. This 21 is definitely uncontrollable.